What's up? It's Tom. We have some actual Twins news to talk about in addition to signing a player. We actually finally have some news coming on these new minority owners, limited partners, whatever they want to call themselves. Dan Hayes of The Athletic just this morning reported that there are actually three different groups that are going to be limited partners involved in the partial sale of the Minnesota Twins. A pretty big opening paragraph there as his lead, saying that, well, it was described as a significant manner in which the club's finances are getting cleaned up and could set the stage for a more lucrative deal in the future. So, if you are a Twins fan that is justifiably fed up with the Pohlads, and maybe you're kind of annoyed that this is sort of dragging things out, I think there is some reason to hope that maybe one of these three limited partner groups will be planning on just continuing to buy more and more of the Twins as time goes on until they are the majority owners. So I think that's a sliver of hope if you are a anti-Pohlad group. And then another one is Michael Russo, also of The Athletic, reported that Wild owner Craig Leipold is part of the limited partnership groups. So I'm not a hockey guy, but from what I've seen of the reaction to this and from what I understand, and just thinking of how the Wild are viewed in general in the Twin Cities, this seems like a very popular development. And, I would say anybody with Minnesota ties or Midwest ties, the more people involved there, the better. But people seem to have positive things to say about Craig Leipold. Again, to be honest, before this, I couldn't have told you who the Wild owner was. That's how disconnected I am from anything hockey. I think there's going to be a press conference tomorrow in which they're going to kind of release probably all of the information on these limited partners. But this could have a massive impact on how the Twins operate. And I think it already possibly has changed things this offseason. I was starting to worry this wasn't going to happen because we've been hearing for months about these new limited partner groups, and they just continuously were not being shared. And impressively, the Twins were impressively tight-lipped about this. There hasn't been a peep. So I was starting to kind of freak out that this was going to fall through as well. Not only were the Pohlads not selling the team like we'd hoped, but this even was going to fall through. And that's kind of where my line of thinking was when it's kind of sounded like maybe they're going to trade Pablo and Joe Ryan and Byron Buxton. When that kind of was the talking point potentially just a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, this means that those limited partners aren't getting approved by MLB or something. I was thinking the worst. So, it's not like all of a sudden the Twins are going to be, signing Framber Valdez and Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker or something. But I think we can have some higher hopes in terms of how they're going to address some of these current weaknesses. And, one of those was Josh Bell. Josh Bell, a guy I would be much more positive about his ad as a DH primarily. As it's kind of stands, he would be the primary first baseman. And I think even with big time questions about his defense, I still like Josh Bell as a primary first baseman over Cody Clemens. So either way you want to cut it, he's an upgrade. 33 years old. He's been durable, consistent yearly. In seasons, he can be a little bit up and down, runs a little hot and cold. 140 plus games played in 8 of his seasons. And, one of those was the shortened COVID year. So I think he played like 56 games in that 60-game season as well. So just a very healthy guy who has stayed on the field, despite being a bigger guy. I feel like bigger guys kind of can have a little bit more, leg problems in particular. But he's been remarkably healthy. Last year, 741 OPS. That's a 107 WRC plus. But impressively, you think of this he's a giant dude, Josh Bell. You think he might be this lumbering slugger who's just a complete 3 true outcomes guy, but only a 16.5 strikeout rate for Josh Bell. That's impressive. 10.7 walk rate too, so he can draw some walks, get on base. It's a 1-year, $7 million deal. Very affordable for a guy like this. I kind of have two reactions to this. Personally, again, if we're looking for the Twins' primary first baseman, he wouldn't have been my favorite choice or option because again, the defense is a concern for me. But getting this guy at 1 year, $7 million, I mean, I think that's a great pickup. And he's only making $5.5 million this year with a $250K signing bonus. And then there's a $1.25 million buyout of the mutual option for next year. That's how we get to $7 million. Here are his baseball savant sliders, which always provide a really good snapshot. They don't tell the whole story, but they provide a really good snapshot. And again, you can see at the bottom there, the K percentage, the walk percentage in the top 25% in all of baseball. Also, X slug barrel, he's hitting the ball hard as well, trying to elevate the ball more often. And it seems like he's kind of putting that together now. And the first half, second half splits are pretty bananas. You see up there, was tremendous in the second half. A 272 average with a 350, 57 OBP and a 500 slugging, and almost as many walks as strikeouts in the second half. So Josh Bell, I think it's easy to assume again that he's going to be the primary first baseman right now. And maybe that's how it works out. But there have been other instances to where the Twins kind of get a guy in a picture in general, and then we'll later kind of add to that. I think the easiest one to remember there is Kyle Farmer, who they traded for. And it was yeah, he could be our shortstop if that's what it comes to. But then they ended up signing Carlos Correa that offseason as well. So I'm not saying they're going to make a move of that caliber or anything. But there's a lot of first base types out there. And not just, I always try to stress, there's not that many in the free agent market, but there's a lot of guys on the trade market who could be had. And that's always an avenue as well. So maybe Josh Bell is the primary first baseman. In that case, I think the Twins are going to have one of the worst defensive infields in baseball. But, again, we'll see. I don't want to overreact to that at this point in mid-December when there's so much offseason left to go. So thanks for checking this out. If you're a Wild fan, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are on Craig Leipold. I just want to call out on the Limestone Pipeline Patreon where me and my buddy Jamie Cameron are talking about Twins prospects, draft stuff. I put out a system depth overview in which I relayed my thoughts on the Twins' overall system strength and weaknesses on there. So go check that out. But thanks for checking this one out. We'll talk again soon.